22:19 says this. Revelation 22:19 says this. Can y'all hear me? Yeah. I'll wait for the men to get placed. I'm glad they said something, because some people would stay and say, yeah, we can hear it, can't hear a thing. Amen? Don't try to make me feel good. If you can't hear me, you just can't hear me.
Amen.
Y'all ain't in the school, y'all can sit there. Very disciplined. Revelation 22:19 says this, 22:19, and if any man shall take away from the words of this book, of this prophecy, God shall take them away his part out of the book of life, and out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book. That's what Revelation says, and I'm just saying that to say when I'm talking in terms of last week of marriage, I talked in terms of husband and wife. I don't take anything out of this book. I don't add anything to this book. So when I say marriage, I mean husband and wife. Amen? Because again, I don't take anything out of this book. I don't put anything into this book, because at the end of Revelation, it says that we should not do it. Okay, so as far as marriage, and I'm going to say the word marriage a whole lot of times, but I'm talking in terms of husband and wife. So, as we look at this, I want us all to turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 7. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. When you get to chapter 7, I want to read verses 6 and 7. And we're talking about the foundation of civilization. This is part 2. We're dealing with singles. And if you're looking at a subtopic, it's enjoy yourself. We're dealing with singles and enjoy yourself. Now, anybody in here single? Raise your hand. Okay, now put your hand in. Has anybody in here ever been single? Raise your hand. Everybody should have their hand up. Because you all single before you got married. And I think sometimes when people get married, they forget that they were single before they got married. But we're going to have to deal with that too. Amen? Because nobody came into this world married. When you came out of your mother's womb, you did not have a spouse. Wait a minute, let me back up. Somebody has a spouse? I mean, I don't know everything, but I think I'm pretty good at knowing that. So when you came into this world, you came into this world single. You know, now how long you were single, I don't know. What generation did you grow up in? Back, you know, if we go back to the great-grandparents, you know, they might have got married at 13 or 14, and that was maybe back then. Now people, you know, getting their careers and maybe the woman is a little higher than that. But the point is, everybody was single at one time or another. But let's see what Paul says. Paul says this. Foundation of civilization, single. Enjoy yourself. This is part 2. But I speak this by permission and not by commandment, for I would that all men were even as I myself, because Paul was single. But every man hath his proper gift of God, one after this manner and another after that. Now, Paul is saying this, but Paul clearly understood that if you are single, there's a strong chance that you do not want to stay that way. He understood that. If you're single, he understood it's a strong chance you don't want to stay that way. But before you decide to walk down the aisle, before you decide to go to the justice of the peace, before you decide to jump over the broomstick, or whatever you got to do, you need to know something. Okay? Everybody need to say amen to that? Amen. Before you decide, because a lot of times people are single, then they get married and they don't know something. So therefore you get in it, then you got a messed up marriage. Okay? But we're talking to singles right now. Now, while you are single, you need to know some things. One thing you need to know that this is the best time of your life to get to know yourself. While you're single, it's the best time of your life to get to know yourself. Too many people get married and they get married and don't know themselves. So you get married to somebody else and you don't know yourself, then you probably got married to somebody that didn't know themselves either, then you're in and wonder why you got married. Because you got two people that got together that didn't know themselves, and you're trying to make this thing work, but you can't make it work because you don't know yourself. So being single is the best time to get to know yourself. And again, many people mess up in their relationships and marriage because they didn't know themselves. And now you find yourself with someone, and it's just a heartbreaking situation. That's why when you hit a rough spot in a relationship, if you're married, husbands may see their wives crying and the wives boo-hooing, and you say, honey, what's wrong? And she say, I don't know. Well, why are you crying? I don't know. Well, she's crying because she don't know. And she really don't know because she doesn't know her inner self. So therefore, anything could be bubbling up because of what we said last week. When we start carrying junk in the trunk, we start collecting that junk when we see it. You don't start getting it when you